On this episode of the Sports Opinions Podcast, James C. Turner Jr., Director of Social Media Operations for Overtime Heroics, and also host of the brand new podcast, Truth Be Told, joins the show as we talk NBA free agency, the new rules being decided in the NBA, NCAA basketball, NFL and the Browns outlook, plus Super Bowl picks, and WWE versus AEW. And before the show, listen up to this commercial from our good friends at Overtime Heroics.
What's going on, guys? Grant Pushkar here, joined by my co-director, Victor Williams. Are you looking to bring more attention to your sports content? Over at Overtime Heroics, you can be a part of a growing sports community, such as podcasts like my own, Cleveland Surge,
and my own Philly Special podcast. And if you're looking for a place to share your sports opinions, they also have an active forum for all sports topics. So if you want your sports content to be heard amongst other sports fans, go over to Overtime Heroics /forums and make your first hot take today.
And without further ado, cue the intro. What's up, sports fans, and welcome to the Sports Opinions Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Alex Cuesta. And today I'm going to be continuing something that I have been doing. I had on Here's the Deal podcast. I had on Grant Pushkar of the Cleveland Surge for the Overtime Heroics Podcast Network Showcase. And with me today is someone else that is also a part of that podcast network. He's actually pretty new into the network, but he's not new into the company per se. He's James C. Turner Jr. He is the Director of Social Media Operations for Overtime Heroics. And he also has a brand new podcast out there. It's called Truth Be Told with James C. Turner Jr. What is up, James?
Alex, first off, thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely.
All right, so Truth Be Told podcast, that's going to be a shoot-style interview. I'll actually be interviewing, athletes, of course, but even TV stars and actors. I already have one episode where I interviewed Johnny Ramirez from A&E's 60 Days In, and that's also on platforms such as Apple, Google, and Spotify.
Yeah, so there's no excuse not to go listen to it, to be quite honest. It's on the three biggest ones. And I'm sure with success, and I don't know if people know, if you're an aspiring podcaster, all you have to do, go find the spot where you can apply. And you can kind of get your podcast on anywhere on your own. So that's a secret that other places probably don't want you to know, but I just let it out.
Absolutely.
So, James, we're going to jump right into it. We're going to talk some NBA because free agency is looming. Right now, it is the 26th of June. Free agency is going to hit on the 31st this Sunday. And big news today, Kevin Durant told the Warriors he's opting out of his deal for $31 million for next year. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean he is going to leave. He now is up for the 5-year Supermax with the Warriors, and they can pay him more than anyone. But the rumors are swirling. He might be coming to my Brooklyn Nets. The Knicks are always in the mix. The Lakers seems like they're trying to free up some space. Where do you feel Durant's going?
I kind of like what you said there about the Nets and the Knicks. Those, I think, would be, if he doesn't resign, that is, I think those might be the two logical. He could be the face of the franchise at either of those teams easily. They can afford to pay him. I feel like, after they didn't win this year, it kind of threw the vibe off. There was a lot of injuries. I think that Warriors team's going to have a tough time.
Yeah, and Clay is not going to be there next year. I don't think Clay leaves. I think he stays. I think if he was healthy, there was more of a chance of him leaving. But now the fact that he knows that training staff, that's the only training staff he's ever been with. That franchise is the only franchise. I know he has a connection to the Lakers with his dad, but I think Clay stays. We're going to run down a gamut of the guys. And I'm going to let you tell me, where do you think these guys are going? So first, Anthony Davis is gone. He's a Laker. I thought it worked for both sides. I think the Pelicans got a good group of young guys, and the Lakers got their star. We talked about Kevin Durant, talked about Clay. Kawhi Leonard, where is he going? Raptors, Clippers, Lakers, Knicks, Nets, all the big players. Where is he going?
I know everybody said he's going to L.A. I think even one of his family members was on the live stream saying he's not staying. But, you win a championship, you get that MVP. I think he'll at least re-up for 2 years, and try to run it back because they have a good squad there.
I think he goes to the Clippers. And I said this I believe on the Here's the Deal episode, that I think he is going to now try and go to the Clippers and solidify himself as a top 10, if not a top 5 player of all time by winning a championship with 3 different teams and being the focal point of all 3 of those teams. That's my prediction for him.
That'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. We're going to now go Kyrie Irving. Nets seem to be the destination, but we have seen so much smoke and mirrors in the past that just because it's a foregone conclusion does not mean it's done. Is he coming to the Nets? Are the Knicks still in play? Celtics? Where do you think Kyrie's headed?
Yeah, it's kind of universally spoken that he's going to Brooklyn. And the way Kyrie is, you know, he could just do something weird and pull a team we're not even thinking about. I know they said LA might be a possibility. I really don't see that happening. I honestly do think he's going to go to Brooklyn because that's his hometown. He said in the past that he'd love to play there, so I could see him going there.
Now, it's interesting. Do you think that the Nets pull the trigger on Kyrie if they don't have a verbal commitment from another superstar like a Kevin Durant? Are they going to take Kyrie anyway and just hope for the best? Like, what do you think the Nets' plans are in that situation?
Yeah, I think you kind of would have to go with Kyrie because it's kind of the foregone conclusion that D'Angelo Russell's leaving. Which, by the way, I've heard that he might go back to the Lakers, which is like something that's unfolding that's kind of crazy.
I don't think he should. They threw him to the curb. I know Magic's gone, but they threw him to the curb. I think he should go to the Clippers with Kawhi, and that would be the ultimate thumb up and thumb on nose. Come get some.
That would be amazing.
So, Kemba Walker, where does Kemba
I think
go?
he's staying.
You think he's staying? You think he's going to stay as a Hornet?
He loves it there. I don't know why, but he's just comfortable there. You know, he's really kind of settled into his own. He's a great player too. You know, I think he's a little underrated. I know he's undersized, but
very
he's
underrated.
a hell of a player. He's a tough competitor.
I actually think he is going to be the Knicks' big grab. I think that they aren't going to get Durant, whether he comes to my Nets or not. They're obviously not getting Kyrie, and now all the Knicks fans are pretending like they never wanted him, which is funny. I think Kemba goes to the Knicks, and I think he is going to be the face of that team. I think the team is going to struggle around him because I don't know if they're going to be able to get anybody else. But I think Kemba also goes, will make a change and go to the Knicks.
Now, what about Dennis Smith Jr. over there?
You know, it's difficult because Dennis Smith can develop into a very nice player, but it's kind of, you know, similar to what the Nets are doing because D'Lo is budding into a superstar. If he's already a star, budding into a superstar, but it is, do we wait and see if D'Lo actually takes that step, or do we bring in Kyrie, which we know is one of the top players in the game? And I think you have to go in that same situation there as, yeah, we have Kemba. He's in his late 20s. He's a star, if not a borderline superstar. Or do we wait for Dennis Smith to reach his potential, which he might never do? It's tough.
True enough.
It is tough. Next name out there, and this one's more complicated, I think, than the whole rest of the group. Jimmy Butler. There are rumors that the Houston Rockets quite literally was like, everyone but Paul and Harden go to the Sixers. Give us Jimmy in a sign and trade. Do you think that happens? Is he going back to the Sixers? What's happening?
You know, I kind of think there's like a 50-50. They kind of talked about Chris Paul coming before he came to Houston too, and then they got him. It might happen with Butler, but I've heard also that Butler wants to play in Philly, and him and Tobias Harris have kind of like spoken with each other about, you know, staying there together.
And it's good you mentioned Tobias because Tobias Harris is also another name, and his name is getting bigger and bigger as a lot of the chips seem to be falling. That next tier of star is coming off, and Tobias Harris is kind of that borderline guy where you can make him a member of a big three, but he can also just be another great starting player. I also have a gut that he goes to the Clippers. If not, you know, if Kemba doesn't go there, if D'Lo doesn't go there, I like Tobias Harris going back to the Clippers. It wasn't like their marriage was bad when he left. So I could see him pairing up with Kawhi there too and playing very well. Do you see realistically Tobias going back there?
You know, statistically, he had one of his better years there. He enjoyed it there. They liked him there. They're one of his biggest suitors right now. I could definitely see him going back there.
I feel like that would be fun. He's such a dangerous guy, and he's underrated with his length, his scoring ability from anywhere. The only issue with him is he's sometimes streaky. He's not always getting that production. When he's off, he's very off, and that is sometimes tough to work through with a guy that you're relying on to get you 20 a night.
And that's why, man, it's hard to, the guys want the max contract like that, and it's a streaky shooter.
Yeah, it's not easy, but you gotta the value and the way the money is these days, the market's going to determine itself. So it has less to do with you as a player and more that you hope everyone around you gets more because then it brings you up even more. And the last thing I want to talk about in terms of big guys, you mentioned D'Lo. I saw something that gave me a little bit of a headache. There was a rumor, I forget who tweeted it out on Twitter, that apparently the Wolves were trying to flirt with sending Wiggins over to the Nets and have the Nets sign and trade D'Lo. Now, I'm sorry. If it's just Wiggins for D'Lo, hell no. I don't think Wiggins has the same value as D'Lo. If you're going to send me Wiggins and maybe a pick, we'll talk. If you were the Nets, would you take that trade?
If you want to talk about a streaky player, that's a perfect person to mention is Andrew Wiggins. And it's upsetting to me because, coming into the NBA, he had a lot of hype, and I really believed that he was going to be like the next superstar. And I think he still has the potential to be a really great player. But straight up, I don't think so. D'Lo has really shown maturity, poise, and that he's changed his game to the next level.
Yeah, can we have a quick laugh about that, class? Who was it? Wiggins, and there was the other guy that they were – I forget who he is. Both of these guys have faded into relative obscurity of being like borderline stars at best. I forget who the other guy was, but they were comparing him to LeBron and Melo, which was absurd to me at the time and has been proven to be absurd. Do you think we're ever going to see another LeBron-Melo situation?
I know people are excited about Zion, and I'm going to be the first person to say this, and don't kill me for it, but I think Ja's going to have a statistically better year than Zion will.
I think Ja's going to have a statistically better career than Zion will.
Yes.
It's just more Ja
struggle with his frame.
And not even, I think just Ja's more suited for this game, where I've put Zion's ceiling as a player. People compare him to LeBron. He's nothing like LeBron. I feel like his ceiling is Shawn Kemp, which is Hall of Famer, unbelievably talented. But in this day and age, Shawn Kemp doesn't get you championships. Ja Morant, who's been compared to Russell Westbrook, if he's a more tame version of Russell, that wins you championships.
Yeah, that was a great comparison. Shawn Kemp, Larry Johnson, something like that. I don't know. I don't like him being 300 pounds at 6'7", and like, if you really watch him in college, he did a lot of dunking and some post up, but we didn't see too much else.
Yeah, he'll definitely have to develop his offensive game, and he'll get more physicality than he's ever seen in his existence. Even though the league is softer now, they're still grown-ass men. So it is going to be an adjustment for him. We're going to stick with the NBA. We're going to talk about some weird stuff that the NBA wants to do right now. It came over the waves yesterday that the league is, I don't know if it's an official change that they're making or a potential change, but they want to call the franchise owners franchise governors because calling them an owner has too much of a racial stereotype. This is taking it too damn far. I think at this point, that's a little ridiculous. The owner of a franchise owns everything. He doesn't own players. He owns all of the operations, the building, all the things that go on. It's not that he owns people. Do you think this is a stupid idea, for lack of a better term?
This ridiculousness has been brought to us by Adam Silver and his sensitiveness.
And Draymond Green, I think, was one of the people that suggested it.
That supported it, yeah.
Oh, my God.
That's it. I guess that's where his mind is at, in my opinion. I don't think really anybody thinks that. I think it's kind of ridiculous. It's 2019. What other words are we not going to be able to say next?
It's a lot already, so who knows? So we're in agreement that is ridiculous, and that's nice. We're going to get that out of the way before we get in trouble with the FCC and get both of our podcasts pulled off forever. We're going to jump into another rule that came down today that they are throwing around, which to me, it seems like it's going to cause more safety concerns. They talked about reducing the season, which every league is talking about reducing games for player safety instead of telling players to, work out more and get their bodies trained so when they have to go full speed. No, let's take away practice. Let's take away contact and then tell them to go full speed and expect them not to get hurt. I digress. They want to reduce the games, but they want to add a mid-season cup, making it a little bit like college invitationals or soccer, and also have a postseason play-in tourney. Now, I'm sorry. You're telling me you want to reduce the games. So say they reduce it to 70 games, right? But they have this midseason cup, which teams are going to go after. If there's something to win to have a title, they're going to go after it. So you're now going to ask players to play harder in the midseason where they normally are kind of resting, taking time off before All-Star break and the grind to the playoffs hits. So now you're going to have guys playing harder then. And then a postseason play-in tourney. So now you're going to sell these teams playoffs, which last over a month already. You're now going to have them play hard again before the playoffs. To me, this is just asking for more injuries, and you're now having guys play harder than they normally would. What say you on this?
Really, it's kind of seems funny, right? It's they want to get rid of games, but they're adding more games, and not only that, but it's championship quality tournament, like you said, where guys are gonna go all out and potentially hurt themselves, and then not be able to play the second half of the season. This is something too that they said could start as early as 2021. I think 58 games was the figure they were looking at, somewhere around there. I think it's just silly, and it's like silliness. I think the idea is ridiculous. I don't know.
I feel like it's bad enough that the playoffs last a month because they get like 7 days off in between each game where, I'm sorry, one of the best parts about the Jordan Bulls and them winning is the fact that they used to win in a grind. That the finals was the home games were basically back-to-back. You had a day to travel to away games, back-to-back, back again. And that was playoffs. It was a grind. It was as much of a battle of attrition as it was talent. Now it's everyone's healthy. Everybody is healthy. You get 9 days off in between games. I don't get it. I just feel like they're just asking for more injuries by doing that.
Hopefully it's something that's, discussed and not really put into action.
Yeah, it would be absolutely terrible. So more stupidity. We're going to talk about NCAA basketball real quick because NCAA is one of the worst organizations of all time. California passed a law which, California has its questionable things, but this one I agree with completely. They passed a law allowing players to make money off their likenesses. Basically, they can do signings and make money if they, anything that has to do with them, they can make money off of. This is the way that I have been suggesting that the NCAA handles this in general, that I don't think schools should have to pay players. I don't think I, as a taxpayer, should have to pay players in any which way unless I choose to. And I think allowing players to make money off their likeness makes it a much more even playing field. I'm over here in Poughkeepsie, New York. Marist College is our big draw. The biggest part of Marist College is women's basketball. And the women would be making more of the money for their signings than anybody else. So if you want to talk about fairness, that would make it fair across the board. What say you to Cali making this law? And if the NCAA decides to bar it, how stupid are they?
Very stupid. I think it's a fantastic thing, especially you brought up women basketball players. They don't get as many opportunities as the men basketball players do. So this would be really beneficial for them, and I think it's amazing.
Yeah, imagine the Connecticut women. The Connecticut women's basketball team would probably make a really, I'm not saying an absorbent amount of money, but they would make really good money for their likeness. There's a lot of women Connecticut, especially through ESPN, pushing them constantly. People know the women that play at Connecticut. It would be great for them. So we are going to now jump on into NFL talk. You are a Browns fan. You're from the Ohio area. How pumped are you for this season?
Man, on paper, it's only right. Odell Beckham Jr. What else more do you have to say besides that? Baker Mayfield broke the rookie touchdown record. I think he's going to sling about 40 touchdowns this year. I see them going at least 10-6 and being, if not the top of the division, tied for the top of the division. It's really exciting, man. The coaching staff is great. A lot of great talent on there. They drafted well. You're getting me pumped up.
No, I have to ask. I completely and totally have to ask because, I didn't ask other Browns fans. And if you've listened to the show, I've had on a absorbent amount of Ohio sports fans where I'm getting convinced that if you're from Ohio, you're a sports nut because there's sports and drinking. That's about it. So you have to like both and maybe hunting. Like that's really it. So I'm getting so many of them and it's fun because you guys are all really knowledgeable about sports and it's great. And I have to ask this. Everyone that I've talked to is behind Odell Beckham. Did you like Odell Beckham when he was on the Giants pulling his stunts? Or is it now that we got him, we're paying him, he's our guy, got to rally behind him?
I think it's a shame. He's a guy that gets a lot of attention. And unfortunately, we live in a time where you've got cameras on you all the time. It's a social media age. Everybody's watching you. Guys were doing stuff like this I'm sure, all the time. But, back
Pat
then they didn't have.
Ochocinco, Terrell Owens, Randy Moss. We can continue a lot. Michael Irving.
Exactly. And it's just a shame, everybody screws up. And I think he had more of a microscope on him than, let's say, other people would.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way that and I've defended him before. The only thing that I've ever gone after him for is when he acted like a petulant child and tried to actually hurt Josh Norman because he was frustrated in a game. I thought he should have been taken out of that game and suspended 5 games or 4 games because that was, outside of the rules of football. Football is a violent game, and he went off his route and turned in to completely blindside Josh Norman. I played football for 10 years. There's no place in football for that at all. So only thing I've ever gotten on him for. Everything else is just stupid stuff, and it is what it is.
Yeah, you're away from the game when you've done that. You're outside of your head at that point.
Yeah, he went a little crazy, but I feel like he has slowly matured. So with him, with Jarvis Landry, the guys that you've picked up, this is a young team. There are some veterans on there, but they're a young team for the most part. How are they going to respond to having this target on their back? I think this is the first time that Cleveland has had a target on their back since they've returned into the NFL, really. So how do you think they're going to respond? They have a new head coach. Baker's in his second year. Do you see the pressure kind of getting to them, or are they going to step up to the plate?
Like you said, there's a lot of new there. There's a lot of pressure. You have to develop chemistry. And I think at first that might be tough, but I see them getting on a roll. I really do see them winning double-digit games this year. I think Baker Mayfield has a hell of a head on his shoulders. The dude's a natural leader. He seems to have this contagious effect on the other guys where they all respond to him and believe in him. And a guy like that, you can't beat, man.
Yeah, you definitely. It's tough because his competitiveness just comes out. I saw it firsthand when you guys were playing my Jets. I'm a Jets fan. And the birth of Baker Mayfield happened against the Jets. He came into that game, made a spark, and the moment he came in, and I saw the way he finished a half, I'm like, we're losing this game. I don't care what the score is. The game's over. Like, Baker's going to lead them to victory, and he did. And that defense is good. They held Sam Darnold and our Jets, and Baker did his thing. And I picked the Browns last year to go to the playoffs, and they almost made it. They really did. If they would have played Baker earlier, then they probably would have been a playoff team. So I'm with you. I think 10 wins is completely realistic for the Browns next year. Now, what's unrealistic is I don't think that they're Super Bowl contenders.
No.
Who do you think are Super Bowl contenders, and who wins it next year?
I'm going to say it's going to be Chiefs in New England, but I think the Chiefs take it.
So the Chiefs are coming out of the AFC, and basically whoever they play in the NFC, they're going to win?
Yeah, well, I think they'll play the Patriots, but
okay. Well, Chiefs and Patriots are both AFC.
Oh yeah.
So
I see the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl though.
Okay. All right. So I can't disagree there because the Chiefs are a good team. Patty Mahomes. I doubted Patty Mahomes his whole young career. I never thought he'd be as great as he is. I'm done doubting Patty Mahomes. I think that they're going to be great again. But I have to stick with my pick. I picked the Bears to win it all next year. I think the Bears are going to come out of the NFC and win it all.
That team's defense is nuts. Trubisky is a great quarterback. I don't know, man. That'd be crazy to see them go. When was the last time the Bears were in a Super Bowl?
Rex Grossman led them to a Super Bowl, and I think that was like 2000. No, the Giants didn't. What? No, I forget who beat them. But it was Rex Grossman leading them there, so that's how long it's been. And why do I know that? I don't know. I really don't.
I remember Rex Grossman, though. That's terrible.
Yeah, so, but he's like one of those like mediocre to bad quarterbacks. Like Trent Dilfer is a great analyst. He was not a good quarterback, and he won a Super Bowl. So it's like you have those guys that are just good enough not to lose.
Like a Matt Schaub.
Like a Matt Schaub, or even with my Jets, Mark Sanchez was just good enough not to lose during his first 2 years. And then his true colors came out, and he's terrible. But, when you have a certain defense and you have certain playmakers that just do the job for you, it helps. It definitely helps. So we're going to go into something that's a little bit of your forte, a little less of mine, because I have not watched as much of professional wrestling as I would like. But we're going to jump into that realm. I really want to talk about the competition that is budding and growing between the WWE and the AEW. WWE, obviously the established brand, Vince McMahon's baby. AEW had their first big show, and it was good. I read all the reviews. I actually went back and watched a few matches. The quality's there. It is good. First question for you. Has the WWE done enough lately since the AEW's inception and their show to kind of keep their faithful to not have wandering eyes to the point where they're going to start turning off WWE when AEW's on?
All right. Well, the past few weeks, you can tell that WWE has stepped up, their game in terms of booking and matches, but I don't think it's enough. I think there's going to be a lot of turnover. A lot of people are excited about AEW. Like you said, that pay-per-view was fantastic. They had John Moxley debuted at the end. They had great matches. They had Cody Rhodes against his brother. It was a fantastic match. The Lucha Brothers and Nick Jackson and Matt Jackson was another fantastic match. That big Royal Rumble type match was, oh my God, it was a fantastic show. The way they shot it was completely different than the style that WWE shoots it. It's a faster pace. You could definitely see the indie style, inflected in there. Cody Rhodes knows what he's doing, man.
Yeah, and and it's kind of funny because Cody was a guy. He's another guy to WWE. They have a bunch of them that they've kind of abused. Great talents that they don't use properly. Cody was one of those guys where he's uber talented, and he showed on the indie circuits. He took over. How many belts did he have at one time? I think he had like 3 or 4 indie titles at one time, and there's a reason. The guy's great. And if AEW's there, I feel like you're going to see a guy. I've called for it a few times. I think EC3 is going to go to AEW and shine because he was the one bright spot for NWA. And he was it. And I think he's going to go over there. But in terms of WWE, do you think this is more of Triple H has the reins a little more and Vince is taking a step back? Does he see the light? Do you think that's ever going to happen?
Here's what I'll say about that. So Triple H has complete control over the NXT brand, and NXT is fantastic. I follow it religiously. It's the best of all the shows. Now Vince is in control creatively of SmackDown and Raw, and you can tell the difference in booking. And there should be a time coming where Triple H should have full control because I think he does know what he's doing. He knows what kind of product to put on. But Vince is a stubborn guy. He's still in that. I like my big 6'5", 350-pound giant guys, and it's just you can see it by a lot of the booking and they put Baron Corbin, Drew McIntyre, and Bobby Lashley in like a team together to destroy people, and it's like it's lazy booking. It's not creative at all. I have better ideas.
Like I said, I haven't paid attention for probably a good amount of time. I watch here and there when I can, but when I see Drew McIntyre, Jinder Mahal, Bobby Lashley, guys like that headlining, they weren't good when they were younger. And this is now, was it Drew McIntyre's third chance to really be pushed? And it's surprising to me. And guys like Roman Reigns, who have never really gathered a real fan base, he has one, but he's not the guy they want him to be. And then you had guys like Dolph Ziggler, who is one of the best workers around, who never truly got his shot. And certain things like that, I'm definitely happy Kofi is getting his due. I see R-Truth is getting a push, which is about friggin' time Ron Killer gets a push. He came in, they gave him really good run when he was early, but WWE does what they do. They give these guys great early runs. You could think of Samoa Joe when he came in, Rusev when he came in.
Yep.
And it's like they give these guys these giant runs, and then they push back. When you have other guys like John Cena, who just came in as a nobody, challenged Kurt Angle and pinned him, and that was his start, but it wasn't this great big push. John Cena got his ass kicked a few times in matches before he became John Cena. Same thing with The Rock. Same thing with Stone Cold. And I don't think WWE understands how to create these superstars, that it's organic. It just disturbs me how they push guys.
They've totally ruined Shinsuke Nakamura, and it kills me.
Are they going to ruin Ricochet? Which would make me cry.
Ricochet's got the United States belt right now, and he's had some really good matches with Cesaro, who they used to fight on the indie circuit all the time. So they really put together some great matches. If you have the time, YouTube one of their matches because it's insane.
And it's sad that, Cesaro's another guy who is fantastic. And if you want a big 6'5" ox to do things, that's the guy. He has
pound for
charisma.
Pound.
He's one of the most technically skilled wrestlers you're ever going to find. And you also have other guys like Finn Balor who are being, I think, at a good push, and now he's being wasted. His bookings are not great. And I don't know. They missed so many chances. Another match I like to go back and watch. Seth Rollins and when Daniel Bryan was Bryan Danielson in Ring of Honor, and they had some of the best rivalry matches over in those. And those two guys are just so technically fun to watch. But the WWE just likes the fake slaps and kicks more than the technical wrestling, and that just bugs me.
And did you hear about the new thing now? Now they can't wrestle during the commercial breaks. So like they're scrambling to like make sure entrances like coincide with like when the breaks happen, or they like make some ridiculous rule to the match, and it's like poorly done. You can tell they have no idea like what to do to make this flow, you know?
And and that's just sad. That I get it. WWE is trying to be the giant, but at the same time, they got to enter. They're going to go the way of ESPN. I really feel like they are going to go. ESPN is going in the way of they're still the big juggernaut, but with social media, everyone else is getting a piece of the pie. AEW is going to come in, and all of these indies are fun. I have Northeast Wrestling right here in Poughkeepsie by me. They put on just as good as shows, and they have John Moxley. He's coming to the next one in August. So it's like there are big guys coming to wrestle in these indie circuits. WWE isn't the it show anymore, and it's fun to see more competition. You see that? Do you think WWE is going to be around 20 years from now?
Just because it's universal and global and all that, I do. They have so many deals with like China, Japan, little countries and stuff, and their network makes so much money just in that. So I do think they'll be around, but the product needs to change, or they're just going to continue to get low ratings.
Yeah, and I think of things like New Japan Pro Wrestling, AEW, like all these other smaller ones, and I think AEW is going to challenge them. I really do. I feel like we might get another Monday Night Wars, but this time AEW is going to be the other company invading WWE instead of WWE invading WCW. So I think that we could see lots of fun in the wrestling world coming up soon.
I hope that, Vince McMahon, see, that would be good for business if they did work something out to where they had the AEW guys come in, like randomly in middle matches and just tear guys apart. You know how nuts that storyline would be. Crazy. It would be all over the place if they did that. And they did it the right way.
But we know the only way that happens is if Vince owns AEW. If he doesn't buy AEW, if they don't agree to be subservient to Vince, he's never going to let their guys step foot in his arena. That's
Correct.
just the type of guy he is. He didn't let ECW guys come in until he bought ECW. That's his style, and it's been his business model, and it's been what's been successful for him.
I went to that Invasion pay-per-view back. I was like 11 years old, and it was not. I mean, it was some good matches, but it was bad.
Yeah, and and you didn't go to ECW to see technically sound matches. You went to see the most extreme. You went to see Mankind fighting every time, basically. Like that's what you went to see, is those types of matches.
Yes.
Which is, it's fun for what it is, but like you said, when you bring it into the Invasion setting, where back then the WWF at the time had more technicality than it does now, I believe. They had more guys that were, grappling was fun, and you saw a lot of grapplers back in the day. You don't see as many grapplers nowadays. So it's a definite shift. And
it's choreographed a lot differently now. That's true.
Does it have to do with the PG style where they can do a lot less in terms of creativity?
I'm not sure if it's that or if it's just, guys are smaller now. Maybe they're worried about, hurting each other. I'm not sure.
One of the things that always pissed me off when they went to the PG, Seth Rollins had the perfect finisher. The curb stomp was the perfect and the most believable finisher for a little guy like him against big dudes. The fact that, it didn't require him picking somebody up. It didn't require him doing something, that was unbelievable. No, he's jamming his foot into the back of a guy's head and slamming his face into the mat. I don't care how big you are. You're getting knocked out by that. So to me, it was a believable one. I hate the fact they took it away. I can't stand it. Like, how did you feel about the curb stomp? Did you like that move?
Well, he uses it again now, right?
No, I didn't know he brought it back. Thank God.
Yeah, I know. But I was so upset when they took it away too. They finally started letting him use it. I think maybe around WrestleMania was the first time he might have used it again. But yeah, it's more recent that he started using it.
Now, how do you feel about the push of the Divas division, which isn't the Divas division anymore? It's the women's division. And the wrestling is definitely better. The women are better wrestlers. They're wrestlers before models now. How do you feel that is gelling with the overall, and is that helping or hurting the product?
I think it's helping. I absolutely love it. A lot of these women are better than some of the men. Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair, Ember Moon, Nikki Cross, Bailey, Sasha Banks. These are all amazing women competitors. Like they fight just as hard as the men. They do ladder matches now. They do steel cage matches. It's insane.
Now, if AJ Lee was still around, would she still be dominating? Because she was one of the best wrestlers overall I've ever seen in terms of charisma, in terms of talent, and the way she sold everything. I loved AJ. Do you think she would still be in the top if she was there?
I would love to see her feud with like Alexa Bliss or Nikki Cross.
Do you think she's ever coming back with the whole entire thing with CM Punk and his feud?
She seems to be pretty loyal with her husband. I mean, unless something happens maybe, or if she's really hurting for money.
See, I haven't heard anything, but is there any murmurs of CM Punk going to AEW anytime soon?
There's been a lot of rumors, but I mean, he shot him down. But then again, it's him, and you really can't go by his word. Because there was this video where somebody was dressed in like a ninja suit that came and hit his finisher on him at an indie event, and supposedly it was him, but nobody's been able to confirm it. So,
God, if CM Punk comes to AEW, that might be not the nail in the coffin, but it would solidify AEW as the official competition. It would
this Saturday, 8:00, free pay-per-view on Bleacher Report.
And that's what's going to get them views. And you best believe I'm going to try and tune in for a few matches. Hell yeah.
I'm doing a live reaction show to it.
Oh, is it going to be on our Overtime Heroics YouTube?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
See what I just did there? You're welcome, Overtime Heroics. Oh, man.
Pay me.
Exactly. Pay all of us. But with that, James, this was lots of fun, man.
Absolutely. Especially me creating a Super Bowl that's impossible to happen.
Hey, listen, dream it. Like Willy Wonka said, dream it and it'll happen. But with that is the end of this episode with James C. Turner Jr. He is the Director of Social Media Operations at Overtime Heroics, and he also has his brand new podcast, Truth Be Told, with James C. Turner Jr. Find it. What was it? iTunes, Google, Spotify?
Yeah, Spotify, Stitcher, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, whatever you listen to.
So a lot of places. No excuse not to listen to it. And do you have any social media plugs that you want to give out to people?
Yes, thank you. Twitter at JPsAllDay1990, and then James C. Turner Jr. on Facebook and Instagram.
Wonderful. And again, I am Alex Cuesta, the host of the Sports Opinions podcast. Find me on Twitter and Instagram at @A_Cuesta30. Find Sports Opinions on Twitter at SportsOpinion30. Instagram, Sports Opinions 30. Visit us on Facebook. And like James, this podcast is everywhere. You're going to hear this show, other great shows that I've recorded with other amazing guests on virtually anywhere you can find a podcast. So just go search for it and you won't be disappointed. If you like this one, you'll like them all. So with that, again, James, thank you so much for coming on. This was the Sports Opinions podcast. Everybody, have a good one.